5. This is News Channel 8 at 4 on your side.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
President Joe Biden taking the oath of office and becoming our 46th president. Now a look at the historic day and the changes it will bring to Floridians.
Breaking barriers and inspiring millions. The most diverse administration ever to take office, sparking celebrations in the Bay Area and beyond.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Josh Benson.
And I'm Stacy Scheibel. Thank you for joining us. Today marks the first day of a new direction for America.
It was a ceremony unlike any other amid strict coronavirus precautions and heightened security. Prominent figures from both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, coming together for this inauguration. Just weeks after the violent attack at the Capitol, President Joe Biden saying now is the time to come together and move forward as a nation.
Unity is the path forward. To restore the soul and secure the future of America requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy.
President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris made it to the White House just moments ago.
But while the transfer was peaceful, Biden's first days will be complicated. With just hours left in his term, former President Donald Trump made several last-minute policy changes. He revoked an executive order banning former administration officials from lobbying. Trump also declassified Russia investigation documents after pardoning some of those who were convicted. He instated a rule giving states up to 180 days to respond to any immigration enforcement changes, a move that could complicate Joe Biden's agenda. But those changes are not slowing down President Biden. On day one in office, he unveiled a series of executive actions to reverse Trump's orders. Among those, plans to halt construction on the U.S.-Mexico border wall, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization, and revoking approval of the Keystone XL oil pipeline. But President Biden's top priority is the pandemic, saying he planned to extend the federal eviction freeze.
And one of President Biden's plans already sparking backlash in Florida regarding the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine. The president promising to let federal agencies take charge of administering the coronavirus vaccine, including enlisting FEMA and the National Guard to help distribute shots faster. It's all part of his plan to vaccinate 100 million Americans in the first 100 days of his presidency. But Governor Ron DeSantis firing back, saying the plan is a big mistake.
A lot of the stuff I'm hearing is totally not necessary, like building these FEMA camps. That's totally unnecessary. The only thing the federal government should worry about right now is increasing the vaccine shipments.
Governor DeSantis insisted Florida did not need the federal government's help, saying 700,000 seniors have been vaccinated. But 8 on Your Side has reported on the lack of vaccine as thousands of seniors are still struggling to sign up.
Florida lawmakers on both sides of the aisle showed their support for a peaceful handoff of the presidential office. And some members of Congress from Tampa Bay were at today's inauguration. 8 on Your Side political reporter Evan Donovan joins us now live with the Florida connections.
Yeah, it's a new administration, Josh and Stacy, and a new ally in the White House for Tampa Bay's Democratic members of Congress.
This is America's day.
The first day of President Joe Biden's administration was a day of celebration for Democrats from Tampa Bay. Tampa Congresswoman Kathy Castor, a longtime supporter of President Biden, in attendance with her husband Bill. Her seat reserved, as all members of Congress were invited to attend. St. Pete Congressman Charlie Crist, also in attendance. He tweeted, "Congratulations, Mr. President and Madam Vice President. Today we celebrate. Tomorrow we get to work restoring this great nation." On the Republican side, Pasco and Pinellas Congressman Gus Bilirakis was in attendance. Representative Daniel Webster of Citrus and Hernando County said he was unable to attend due to some family medical obligations. In a statement, he said, "I am praying for a peaceful event and for the safety of all in attendance and our law enforcement officers." Coming up at 5, we'll take a look at some of the things President Biden plans to change and how they could affect Florida.
He has a full plate, no doubt, though.
17 executive orders and actions looking to reverse the Trump legacy even quicker than President Trump did to Obama.
It seems like that doesn't typically happen on the first day.
It's going to be a busy time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Former President Trump broke with tradition, leaving Washington before the inauguration began. However, he did reportedly leave a note behind for President Biden in the Oval Office. Trump arrived at his Mar-a-Lago resort just before noon, met by hundreds of supporters lining the streets.
And Trump not attending the inauguration is just one of several presidential transfer of power traditions that didn't happen.
8 on your side's Justin Shecker is in Palm Beach County, where President Trump is spending his first day as former U.S. president.
Good afternoon. Former President Donald Trump is settling into his residence at Mar-a-Lago. He arrived here in South Florida before the inauguration began, and I can tell you a group of his supporters were there near his private club to welcome him to the Sunshine State.
A great honor, the honor of a lifetime, the greatest people in the world, the greatest home in the world.
After brief remarks outside the White House, he boarded Marine One for the short flight to Joint Base Andrews. His military send-off included a playing of Hail to the Chief and a 21-gun salute. President Trump ends his term in office right after the American death toll from the coronavirus pandemic surpassed 400,000. He spent the final hours of his presidency on board Air Force One, flying to Palm Beach, Florida.
A month when we're sitting in Florida, we're not going to be looking at each other and saying, you know, if we only worked a little bit harder, you can't work harder.
And while Donald Trump broke with more than 150 years of tradition by not attending the inauguration, he did leave a note in the Oval Office for President Biden. Reporting in Palm Beach County, I'm Justin Shecker, 8 on your side.
And across the country and here at home, women in the oldest Black Greek letter society, or sorority rather, were all watching and cheering the newly sworn-in vice president. Rod Carter joins us now live in Tampa with some of the history related to that. Rod?
Yeah, this is the Alpha Kappa Alpha House here in Tampa, and I can tell you that AKAs here in Tampa across the world, as well as women of color and young girls, were very excited for this day.
We celebrate our first African American, first Asian American, and first woman vice president.
Vice President Kamala Harris made history today, becoming the first woman to ascend to that office. She also made history as the first Black and Asian woman.
I'm a mother of 2 daughters. When I was a little girl, you know, the world had limits.
Selena Ward, who ran for Hillsborough County School Board, took in the gravity of this historical day with her 2 daughters, 16-year-old Maddie and 17-year-old Johnny.
This day means that my girls could be VP, or I'm going to shoot even bigger, president. She's broken the glass ceiling for my children.
Harris, a graduate of historically Black Howard University, is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the oldest Black Greek letter sorority. Today, members of the organization watched in great pride, wearing pearls, their signature jewels, and Chuck Taylor's sneakers in honor of VP Harris, known to wear those. The president of one of the local chapters in Tampa told me it's a really big day.
This is a full circle moment for the sorority, and it comes at a time when we have just celebrated 113 years as an organization on January 15th. So you can tell we are extremely excited.
And you know, the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority has 2 youth groups for young girls to mentor those young girls, one for high school students and one for middle school students. They say this is a great teachable moment, that really there is no ceiling, that these young ladies can go as far as they would like to go. I'll have much more on that for you coming up tonight at 5 o'clock. Reporting live in Tampa, Rod Carter, 8 on your side.